Trump ran on and his supporters, Biden covered up Epstein, Trump is going to shine the light. They ran on that. They said that. They promoted that during his campaign. And then when he gets elected, it's like, Pam Bondi said, files on my desk in February, we're going to uncover all of it. And now they're backpedaling. I mean,
hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup.
This is Ashley with Status Coup.
On the ground.
In Philadelphia.
Flint, Michigan. East Palestine, Ohio. Please support the leading independent news outlet on the ground.
Covering what the corporate media covers up.
Hey, it's Jordan. Delighted to be joined by comedian, the political vigilante, Graham Elwood. Get his new album, which I was listening to. Particularly love the Socialism Christmas Carol. I was listening to with my newborn. He enjoyed it. But more serious topics, Graham. If you haven't heard, the earth is flat, Bigfoot is real, and Jeffrey Epstein acted alone.
He completely acted alone. Yeah, him and Maxwell trafficked all those kids into an empty field. And
yes.
They all just went away, and that was that. And we can all go to sleep.
So you have been on this story on your channel. We'll put the description underneath. Political vigilante, Graham Elwood on YouTube. And what's amazing, we've heard from Pam Bondi, Trump's Attorney General Barbie doll, that the client list was on her desk. She's going through it. I'll just play that clip. This is from February.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
So sitting on her desk, that was a few months ago. But yesterday, they released that there's no other conspirators. There's no client list. He committed suicide. Everybody move on now to the, ICE concentration camps and whatnot. Your thoughts? Oh, excuse me. She did respond to that by saying she actually didn't mean that she had the client list on her desk. I'll play you this.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that.
So I just have a logistical question. We know there were hundreds of victims. Some reports are now saying 1,000. If he didn't have a client list, how did he do this? Did he just have some incredible photogenic mental Rolodex? What was Ghislaine Maxwell doing if he didn't have a client list? He just did all this by himself?
Yeah, he did all this by himself, and Lee Harvey Oswald shot a bullet that defied the laws of physics and went through 3 people. Go back to sleep. I think Taylor Swift's got a new album out. That's really, it's amazing to me that they have the audacity to think the American people are this stupid. Especially, so you even, first of all, there's the FAA flight logs. People flew to his island. And I interviewed on my show. I have a whole Epstein playlist on my show. I interviewed former child crimes investigator with the Phoenix Police Department, Eric Oldenburg, who retired honorably, being on the force, I think, for 25 years. And I said, so he investigated, pedophiles and child trafficking and child exploitation films. And I said, what would you do if you were the lead investigator? He said, well, first of all, anybody that flew to his island, because we have witness testimony saying people were trafficked to and abused on his island. So we would assume that anyone that went to the island probably participated in such acts, or at least was knowledgeable of them having. And he said, let me tell you something about pedophiles. They don't abuse once. They don't just have like a weekend. He goes, we would then track them all back home and start investigating them back in wherever they live in America. Who are they in contact with? Do they have children? Do they work? And he goes, he would always say this. He goes, him and an investigating team would always have a saying. They would say, you can't go fishing in a parking lot. And he said, Graham, unfortunately, I don't want to make every little league coach guilty. There's plenty of youth sports coaches and youth teachers that are doing really good work. But he goes, but predators look for easy prey. And, you know, Sandusky, let's move to Sandusky for a quick second, just to make my point here. Sandusky, who was arrested in 2011 at Penn State University, had this helping at-risk youth. And he said, that's always, he goes, there's plenty of organizations that are helping at-risk youth that are doing good work. He goes, but when we have a known sex offender, a child sex offender, and they're working with youth, we always look for that because that's what they do. He goes, you show me 100 kids that have been abused. He goes, 98 to 99 of them will have come from some type of broken home where there's no good, you know, and you start by giving the kid a toy or whatever. He goes, that's how I would view this whole investigation. This is with the Phoenix Police Department. So you're trying to tell me now that the Department of Justice, let us roll the clock back to July of 2019, 6 years ago, when we all saw all of that video footage of the FBI rolling out, you know, dollies stacked full of boxes of files from Epstein's penthouse in New York City. Like files and files and files. And again, this is corroborated by eyewitness testimony. So these boxes and boxes of materials, there was nothing in them. They were all just what? Just, you know, highlights of Yankee games. Like what was in them? I mean, we know there's so much corroborating evidence of what Epstein would do, which is he would have these parties in New Mexico, which both Bill and Hillary Clinton flew there several times and spent weekends there. There's New York City, and there's obviously the Virgin Islands, his island in the Virgin Islands. And they would have parties and events, and a butler would come up and say, hey, wealthy, powerful guy, would you like a massage from a beautiful young woman? Sure. She would be underage. They would perform sex acts. They would videotape it. And then that guy would suddenly invest in Epstein's. We know that Epstein's investment fund was a fake fund. It had done no stock transactions. So like, I know this, you know this, but the Department of Justice is like, nope, there's nothing there. So this goes back to the fact that we know Acosta, when he was arrested in 2009, was told in Florida. Acosta was in Florida. He was with the district attorneys or the attorney general's office of the state of Florida, I believe, when Epstein got arrested the first time in 2009 and was given that sweetheart deal, I think in 2010. This is also when Ghislaine Maxwell negotiated a settlement out of court. And Acosta said, I was told to back off because he was an intelligence asset. Right. So we know Ghislaine Maxwell's father worked for Mossad. An interview I did on my show with CIA whistleblower John Kiriakou. Again, feel free for your audience to go back and watch this interview where this was in September of 2019. So 2 months after, maybe not even, after Epstein hung himself with a paper t-shirt on the day when the video cameras went down. Oh, totally believable. And John Kiriakou, I asked him, I said, John, what was your first reaction as an ex-CIA and a whistleblower when you heard about Epstein dying in prison? He goes, I called a CIA friend of mine who is still active duty. And I called this guy up and I said, this has to be the Israelis, right? Those are John Kiriakou's words, not mine. And I said, really? So, and he goes, yeah. I said, what about the Chinese? He goes, the Chinese espionage is all digital. They do computer and hacking and stuff like that. He goes, this is right up Mossad's. This is what they do. And so then you have Maria Farmer in an interview she did with Whitney Webb, a 3-hour interview. She was a victim. Her sister was a victim, said that Epstein was middle management, that Lex Wessner, the creator of Victoria's Secret, was the head of the North American snake. Again, these are her words. And so what this says for then these people to just go, oh, it's all done. There's obviously the wealthiest, most powerful people in the world are on these tapes and on these photos. There's no way they didn't make a record of this because it's used for extortion. I mean,
right. Well, I also want to point out in part of their statement, they say they have no evidence Epstein was trying to blackmail powerful figures. But in his own words, in a tape that came out years ago, I mean, he called Trump. He said, I was Donald Trump's closest friend. He said, basically paraphrasing, I could bury Trump if I wanted to. So not that this is only about Trump. You got Bill Clinton, which you and I have talked about in the past. Mm-hmm. Eyewitnesses say he was on that island. He said, I was never on his jet or was only on once or twice. Flight logs say 20-something times. But Trump specifically seems like a conflict of interest to me if he should be part of an investigation, yet it's his DOJ, who clearly is not independent from him, is investigating it. I just want to show you, he got pretty pissed off when asked about this today.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Yeah, all that success of ripping people off Medicaid. But, to get specific here, he says, do people still care? I mean, part of the biggest freak out is coming from MAGA because they were promised the Epstein files. But when he says creep, I mean, I'll just read to you. This was what was on the audio tapes that Michael Wolff had from conversations with Epstein. Explosive tapes recorded by author Michael Wolff shows Epstein claiming Trump liked to fuck his friends' wives and first slept with Melania on the Lolita Express. There's video of Trump and Epstein partying from the early 90s. I mean, it just seems to me pretty obvious. I don't care if you're left, right, politically agnostic. You can't trust an investigation from the Trump DOJ when he might be one of the central figures. And there's eyewitnesses saying Trump was kind of inappropriate with young girls, etc.
Well, this also shows like this, and again, I'm on Twitter a lot, and I'm on Twitter. There's a lot of I'm a Bitcoiner, right? So I follow a lot of Bitcoiners are still very much on Twitter. Many of them are either full MAGA or they at least voted for Trump because they're single issue voters. He's pro Bitcoin. I'm voting for Trump. Many of them did that. I didn't. I vote third party. I voted for Jill Stein. But a lot of them now in the last couple of days are like, what is this? Is you wait a minute. Trump ran on and his supporters, Biden covered up Epstein. Trump is going to shine the light. They ran on that. They said that. They promoted that during his campaign. And then when he gets elected, it's like Pam Bondi said, files on my desk in February. We're going to uncover all of it. And now they're backpedaling. I mean, the Fox News reporter yesterday with the press secretary of Trump called her out and said, wait, Pam Bondi. And she goes, well, Pam Bondi said a lot of things. He's just, no. He read the quote about the file is on my desk. And then the Trump press secretary starts going, well, this Department of Justice is all about solving crimes. And we've brought the murder rate. She starts talking about investigating murderers, which was like, oh, just distraction. And a lot of the people that voted for Trump are like, wait a minute. In this new bill, there's deficit spending. You're adding to the deficit, which you said you weren't going to do. You said you were anti-interventionist, and yet you bomb Iran. you said you were going to go get Epstein, and now you're telling us all to go to sleep. There's the interview on Joe Rogan from a month ago with, I think it's, what's his name? Cash, the FBI, head of the FBI. There was an interview he did about a year ago, late 2023 or early 24, where he's like, the Democrats are hiding the Epstein stuff because they're all pedophiles. And when I'm in the head of the FBI, this is what I'm going to do. And then he goes on Joe Rogan and says basically what Pam Bondi said the other day, which is, oh, no, I looked at all the files. Everybody's good. We're good. And it's like, even Rogan is looking at him like, wait, what? Like, so to me, this is very clear that all of these powerful people, Trump being included, as Clinton, I've covered all of these people on my show, have all of these ties to Epstein. And when the wealthiest, most powerful people in the world, there's video evidence of them. And you know, Maxwell said, she made it pretty clear, if I go down hard, this all comes to light. And that's why on, I think it was May 2nd or May 3rd of 2022, right, the day the SCOTUS leak, the day the leak that the Supreme Court was going to overturn Roe v. Wade, on that day, wacky coincidence, Maxwell is moved from New York to a minimum security prison in Florida. There's also no mugshot of Ghislaine Maxwell on the DOJ's website. Go to the DOJ's website, look up Whitey Bulger, another high-profile case, look up MS-13. There's no cameras allowed in a federal courtroom, so it's all that sketch drawing. But there is a mugshot for Whitey Bulger. There's mugshots for all the MSN-13 guys. There is no mugshot for Ghislaine Maxwell. None. And now we're supposed to believe Pam Bondi, and the fact that Trump gets all mad and he's like, we've got floods in Texas. His own people are going, wait a minute. You said you were going to root this out. You said the Democrats were the only ones involved in this. And now here he is deflecting. Pam Bondi's deflecting. His press secretary is deflecting. His head of FBI. These are all Trump appointees. These are all Trump people, are all deflecting this. And the MAGA supporters that like Trump's going to get us the truth on Epstein are sitting here very bewildered. And many of them are being very public on social media. And I don't blame them, because they're learning the hard truth that there are no good guys. Both parties are evil, and both of them have ties to the most notorious sex trafficking pedophile ever.
And by the way, with Ghislaine Maxwell, I'm sure we'll find out eventually that she was transferred to a bed and breakfast prison and will be out far earlier than the 20 years or so she got. But on her, this is not a defense of her, but just a kind of common sense question. Based on what I know, she was convicted based on being the ringleader, the liaison for Epstein. So how could she be a liaison and the ringleader if there's no client list? Like, who could she have trafficked? Right. To where if there is no client list? Like, you can't, there needs to be some, maybe it's not in writing, but it needs to exist somewhere. Who's going where and to whom, unless she, again, had it all in her mind. It just doesn't make sense.
There's sworn testimony that the DOJ has access to, because it was a federal trial. I mean, that when Maxwell was convicted in December of 21 or January of 22, right around there, the trial was going on December of 21. There was 4 Epstein victims that gave testimony. Like, there is enough evidence, even in that kind of slap on the wrist kangaroo court trial, to do this. So this is like, it's, if it wasn't so tragic and there weren't so many awful victims, it would be laughable at how preposterous this is. And we're all supposed to believe this. We're all supposed to believe. And it's like the wealthiest, most powerful people are covering this up. And you're seeing how Trump, just like the Clintons, very compromised. There's absolutely got to be footage of him doing whatever. And that's the file that was on Pam Bondi's desk, was a little note saying, this is going to be bad for you. You might want to, maybe just like, here's Here, and I forgot to mention this on my live stream yesterday, because I was talking about this yesterday. Oh, by the way, Virginia Giuffre killed herself, even though she posted numerous things saying, I will never commit suicide.
Right. She was one of the, most public victims. Yep.
Yes. Most public victims. Went out after Prince Andrew, was I believe one of the people who gave testimony against Ghislaine Maxwell, and it's Virginia Roberts Giuffre. And she just died of suicide like a month ago. And then the DOJ is like, nope, we looked at everything. There's no conspiracy. What are you possibly talking about? How were children sent to an island in the Caribbean? How did that happen without any conspiracy? How did Maxwell, like you said, how did Maxwell get convicted in a federal court for sex trafficking and it didn't happen? How did that happen? How did any of this happen?
I want to play this clip from, used to be co-president, now Trump's ex, Elon Musk, the world's richest man. Obviously, he had the whole, Twitter tat with Trump a couple of weeks ago, said, Trump doesn't want to release Epstein files because he's on it. This is a clip from Musk before the election, basically saying if Trump wins, he's going to deliver the goods.
I think part of why Kamala's getting so much support is that if Trump wins, that Epstein client list is going to become public.
Yes.
And some of those billionaires behind Kamala are terrified of that outcome.
Yeah. Do you think Reid Hoffman?
Why I found that relevant, Elon Musk, obviously he's a maniac and he's also manic a lot of the time and whatever drugs he's on, but he's also the world's richest man. And with power and wealth comes information. I don't think he would be putting this stuff out there if he didn't have some type of inkling who's on that list and that a list exists, both when he put it out on Twitter, but before the election. Seems to me he would know or have some idea who's on that list. What are your thoughts both on Musk and others who seem to have publicly kind of hinted at, this would be kind of the house of cards would fall? Because I have a feeling people in this universe know who's on that list.
Look, there's a lot of reasons Harris lost. We could spend a whole hour on how poorly she ran her campaign. Funding Gaza, funding the genocide in Gaza, not allowing Palestinians to speak at the convention. Rashida Tlaib wins her district by almost 70% of the vote in a state of Michigan where Harris only got 48.4% of the vote. We could go through all those things, and they're all pretty valid reasons. There's a lot of reasons. There wasn't one reason. There's a lot of reasons why Harris lost. This is one of them. This is one of the things that Elon Musk very publicly, whatever you want to say about Tucker Carlson, once he branched away from Fox News, has been an independent journalist. He has his own beliefs and his own agenda that he pushes. But this whole framing of, and people who follow Epstein, the Epstein case, like I have, or like Whitney Webb or other people, we know everyone's involved. I know everyone's involved. But it was interesting that they were using this as a campaign item to say, oh, it's going to come out. The Democrats, they're going to be revealed. And after Trump won, they didn't put that to bed and just say, don't talk about that anymore. The election's over. No, they talked about it. We showed the video in February after Trump was sworn in. And so there's a lot I don't like about Elon Musk. And obviously, some people think, are Elon and Trump, is this a staged fight? I don't think so. I think they're two egomaniacs that are having the fight on Twitter like a bunch of teenagers. But I think you were right. I think there's no way you get that much money and that much power without knowing something. Elon Musk has never been mentioned on any connection to Epstein that I know of. So if he had any tie to Epstein at all, he wouldn't be saying this, because anyone that has any tie to Epstein at all doesn't say boo about it. They just go up. He hung himself. We got Ghislaine in jail. Anyway, what a great day outside. Like, they changed the subject immediately. So for him to be like on Tucker Carlson ahead of the election going, this is going to come out, and a lot of people saying this is going to come out. I think did he get access to DOJ files? I doubt it, but he has the money and the power to potentially get the access. But at the very least,
well, we got access to Social Security files through Doge, so who knows?
Who knows? Maybe he did. I mean, at the very least, like you say, these rich people hang out in different circles than you and I, and he's going to know who went where. He knows who's into what. He knows, because that's how you become a billionaire, is you know how you need to leverage people. You know that. I mean, you learn that's how you get ahead, be it through nefarious reasons or, wow, this guy really likes the Boston Red Sox, so I'm going to get him, behind the plate tickets and try to get this business deal done, whatever. Like from the innocent versions of leveraging people all the way up to let's get this person compromised on camera with a minor. Elon knows this. And the one thing that's very interesting about this breakup is, so when Trump won, I was talking to my friend, John Updike, that runs Open Primaries, which is a nonprofit organization that helps independent voters get ballot access. And I said, and he's been following politics for 30 years. He's been attacked by both parties. So, he's one of us. And I said, what do you think about, Trump and this coalition? He goes, Trump built an amazing coalition, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., Elon Musk. He goes, but it won't last. This will all break up within a year, because just Trump's an egomaniac, and so's Elon. And now that this is falling apart, we're in very interesting times, because Elon, the last couple of days, has been so vocal on X, the platform he owns, calling out Trump's hypocrisy with regard to Epstein. And Elon Musk is not some just guy on YouTube. He has a lot of money and a lot of power. And as you see the Republican Party start to fracture a little bit, Elon Musk is trying to start his own party. I don't know if this will be successful, what the party will just be all a bunch of QAnon nutbags in it. I don't know what it'll be. But he has the money to go, I'm starting a legitimate third party, and I'm going to pay to primary every open Republican seat. He has the money to do that. And so this is a legitimate threat. And again, I'm no Elon Musk fan. I think he's highly manipulative. I don't trust this cat at all. I think he's, he does the Nazi salute and says, oh, I was just waving or whatever. Like, oh, okay, you're an autistic Nazi now. Got it. But this is an insane time. America is an insane asylum. And this is like the Joker and the Riddler are fighting over control of Gotham because the Batman's dead and, Commissioner Gordon is in jail or something. Like it's just like, stay tuned, because crazy stuff is going to happen. But this Epstein thing is not going away, because the Trump supporters said it wouldn't.
Right.
And Tucker Carlson, if I'm not mistaken, after Trump bombed Iran, said we should impeach Trump. Tucker Carlson is now.
Yeah, he then runs between his,
Sure.
His legs when Trump huffs and puffs at him. But I will also point out, Trump himself, if Trump wasn't implicated at all, I think he would release it. Because he doesn't care about, throwing Republican donors under the bus. Certainly not Democratic donors. He would get Bill Clinton probably in some compromising position. He would love to do that. So you would think, Trump basically thinks he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. And he has no loyalty to most donors other than the Adelsons, so he'll do whatever they want, including, genocide in Gaza. So it tells me this story is not only about Trump, but the fact that they have now covered it up, I think, kind of implicates Trump very clearly. Because if he wasn't implicated, you would have to think they'd release it.
I think, some Trump supporters are going to just do what happens in this country, which is turn a blind eye to it. This is why the two-party system is so awful. Liberals were like, Joe Biden doesn't have dementia. He's fine. They were just lying to themselves and to the public. But I think these type of sort of libertarian, whatever mix of a little bit of QAnon, a little bit of, the Bitcoin community, a lot of the Bitcoin crypto people are like, we hate the Federal Reserve. That's why we're Bitcoin. We hate the central banks. We hate funding war. They're questioning this guy and not letting him get away with it more than I've ever seen. Like his first term, his people, nope, he's great. Bombing Syria, he's great. They didn't call him out on anything, just like the liberals didn't call out Obama, they didn't call out Biden. But this is the first time I'm seeing stuff where I'm like, whoa, wait a minute now. And Elon Musk and Tucker Carlson, who both not only were on the campaign trail, but were on the stage with him at the Republican convention, are now publicly, and Elon has a lot more power than Tucker. Tucker, like you say, he'll kind of cower when it gets a little too close to the fire, but he's still, I mean, like he had Marjorie Taylor Greene on last week and they were both talking about how everyone is compromised by AIPAC. And I'm like, what world am I living in where I'm agreeing with these two people? What's going on? Like, so we're in a very crazy time, and it could be crazy bad or it could be crazy good. Well, I mean, I don't know, like, because the Epstein, the people that follow Epstein, such as myself, we're not letting it go. And the Trump supporter Epstein people, I think some of them are going to they're having right now of a confrontation within themselves. It's kind of like a lot of us who like, we voted for Obama and then we watched Obama drop more bombs than Bush. And we're like, wait, whoa. He was the peace guy. He was the hope and change guy. And a lot of us got sort of progressive lefties we had to have a come to Jesus moment. Are we going to keep drinking this Kool-Aid or are we going to come out and say we're done? And I think that could happen. I don't know. The American people are very much addicted to the red versus blue narrative. They're addicted to it. My team's better than yours. My team's not perfect, but it's better than your team. Like they're addicted to that. But this is very interesting, man, because 3 things have happened right in a row that Trump and his supporters very much were loudly supporting. Trump's not going to get us into tangled wars. Yes, he is. Iran. Trump's not going to, do deficit spending and print money like the Democrats do. Yes, he did. The new big bill is in that. And then Trump's going to set the truth straight on Epstein. Nope. And the most lying, double talking response from Trump, from Pam Bondi, and from his press secretary and his head of the FBI. So we're in a very interesting place right now. The ICE raids have made the agriculture industry and the hospitality industry, which had a lot of big billionaire donors for Trump, go, whoa, you're hurting our bottom line. Easy now. I thought you were just going to get drug dealers. So I don't know. I'm not going to be hopeful because I unfortunately it's too hard on my mental health to be hopeful about America. But this ain't going away.
And in the spirit of comedy, as you know, they are saying that there was 1 minute missing from Epstein's prison cell the night he killed himself, which Pam Bondi has now said is completely normal. And every night has a minute missing on the tape. I don't know. So when is your short film coming out? A minute in Jeffrey Epstein's cell.
Yeah, that's going to come out soon. It's just a minute in Jeffrey Epstein's cell, and you show him like slipping on a banana peel and boinking his head and like, whoops, and then there's like cartoon music and it's
just too crazy. And the reality is, obviously, this story, the biggest part is these innocent victims, the young women, and we shouldn't forget that. But underneath it all is the whole corrupt cabal that is the United Corporations of America. And it seems, I always tell the audience, there's no red team, there's no blue team, there's the green team.
That's it.
It's the money, Lebowski. And you got donors and politicians and celebrities, athletes potentially, that are possibly implicated either directly or just through osmosis. So it's within all of their interests to work together to quietly move on.
And more evidence of that now is the P. Diddy basically got acquitted on a bunch of this on the sex trafficking counts. I know of no evidence tying P. Diddy to Epstein. However, what's similar is same thing, wealthy people doing, coercion, assault, sex with minors, more than likely videotape evidence of it. And so all these powerful people implicated going to the P. Diddy parties, to a smaller degree than Epstein, but still celebrities and celebrity athletes going to these events. And oh, by the way, he gets a little slap on the wrist in court within day. I mean, this happened 3 days ago, and then Pam Bondi comes out and says, "No, everything's fine." Like, this all is very convenient timing on all of this. The takeaway is the wealthy, most powerful people in the world, they control everything, and they many of them. And again, like you say, the number of victims, young women, young boys, and the reason they're called survivors is when you grow up, there's a high rate of suicide amongst childhood sexual abuse survivors. There's a high rate of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, because it haunts you forever. And if we had actual leaders in this country, or in the world for that matter, which we don't have real leaders in this country, we have jokes. And some people are just flat out evil. This would all be investigated, but it won't. And the American people are seeing, Joe Biden didn't investigate it with his DOJ. The difference between Biden and Trump is Trump said he was gonna, did it, and did a fake investigation and went, see, it's all good. And they keep trying to fool us into they keep trying to seal it off and say it was a lone gunman. That's what they're saying. Epstein acted alone. Him and Maxwell acted alone. He hung himself because he felt so despondent about what he had done. And she's in jail. Go to sleep, America. It's all over. It's all over. And it's not. And we're not stopping this, and people are getting trafficked, unfortunately, as we speak, and the ruling elites are getting away with it. And there is, in my opinion, I'm not a religious man, but I believe in some type of higher power. This is absolute evil. This is pure evil. There's people who had bad childhoods and it made them become criminals, and okay, that's kind of unfortunate. And then there's people that are just born evil. And that's who I think many of these ruling elites are. And they're willing to traffic children. And the evidence is overwhelming. And anyone that speaks out shuts up quickly or suicides themselves or whatever, man. And it's pretty dark.
Absolutely. Tell people what you're working on. I would encourage everybody to go get your album, Socialist Christmas with Graham Elwood, which I have and was wonderful. What else are you working on these days?
Well, yeah, Socialist Christmas is year round. So we just had May Day. You can always listen to it. You can get it on, there you go, iTunes, Spotify, Comedy Dynamics has it. I have a new book that is coming out. It's called Bitcoin for Activists. It'll be out probably in the next month. We're finishing that up because I'm a big advocate in how Bitcoin is perfect money and actually can be used by lefty activists for good causes. I know people think Bitcoin is like a right-wing thing. It is not. It's just a tool. So that book is coming out. I have a new YouTube channel called Bitcoin Hollywood, which is just going to be entertainment and talking Bitcoin and stuff like that. I have a new travel series that's going to be coming out called Laughs Around the World. I was just in Asia doing shows. It's sort of like Anthony Bourdain meets comedians in cars getting coffee. Minus the Jerry Seinfeld supporting Gaza genocide. So yeah, check those things out. Just go to grahamelwood.com, start following me. And I've got a newsletter that I get sent out every once in a while. And I'm actually looking for a new assistant to do editing and do my newsletter. So if anyone out there has those skills, please reach out to me. Yeah, so that's it. Go to grahamelwood.com, follow me, do all that stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Everybody, I'll put the links in the description, and we will stay in touch because I agree this is not going away, no matter how much Donald Trump would like it to.
He's trying.